Welcome back, Cubs. Direwolf here. Today I want to give a little bit of advice to feminists. Skeptics like me spend a lot of time debunking what the feminists say, and claiming that what they're trying to do is not good for our society. But we don't spend a lot of time on saying what they could do that would be good for our society. Anyone of my Cubs has been following my channel for a while know that I'm not opposed to all of feminism. I think that first and second wave feminism did some positive things, and in principle, I'm not opposed to the dictionary definition of feminism, but today's feminism, third wave feminism, is not about equality and does not resemble the dictionary definition. Today's feminism is a toxic and destructive force in our culture that breeds division and controversy over non-existent issues or issues based solely on lies, while at the same time strangely ignoring real issues of equality for both men and women. Part of the reason for this is there is no social or political benefit for feminists in the West to fight for feminist issues outside of the West. Instead of fighting for true equality, they fight to retain their victim status for their own social benefit, and they also use feminist controversy as a mobilizing force for their political party. So to put it simply, modern-day feminism is not about equality, it is about social and political power and who holds it. But imagine for a moment that feminism really was about equality. Here's what it would look like. Instead of focusing on mansplaining, they'd focus on the 5,000 women killed every year in honor killings in the Middle East, or the 20,000 killed around the world every year, according to the BBC. I think focusing on women being killed for leaving their religion or marrying the wrong person is far more important than mansplaining. And instead of wasting time complaining about mansplaining, they'd spend time talking about gays being killed by the hundreds every year for being gay in the Middle East. What do you care about more, men taking up more space on the train or gays falling from buildings? Remember, your priorities say a lot about you and your movement. True feminism wouldn't worry about a false earnings gap in the West, but instead would focus on a culture in the Middle East that doesn't allow women to get an education or get a job. And one of the punishments for getting an education or a job can be an honor killing, or it could be something less, such as an acid attack, like the 2,800 that have been reported in the UK alone. I mean, sure, yeah, if you disobey Islamic culture, you might be disfigured for life, but that wage gap is so much more important, even though it's been proven false over and over and over again. And instead of branding all Western men as being possible rapists and claiming that there's a rape culture based on false statistics, real feminism would focus on the Middle East and Asia, where there's a real rape culture, where women are not believed, and if they accuse someone of rape, they could be killed. Because being raped is a crime, and also in the same culture, it's okay to rape someone who's not a Muslim. Add that to the rampant and socially acceptable pedophilia in that culture, and I think you have a much bigger problem than the false rape culture you claim the West has. In fact, the West has the most negative view of rape and wish very high punishments for rapists. However, at the same time, we require someone to be proven guilty before they're condemned. If feminists really cared about the welfare of women, they wouldn't focus on how attractive they're depicted in video games, but instead would focus on the 200 million women at risk of female genital mutilation. And instead of associating themselves with violent groups like the BLM, they'd associate themselves with groups like MRAs. Instead of associating with violent groups that burn down buildings, they would associate themselves with groups that are building bridges. Groups that are seeking social change peacefully and with respect, not through violence. Good feminists would not revel in the silencing of their critics. They would not be apathetic or joyous of the people they disagree with having their freedom of speech curtailed or taken away. And lastly, they would advocate achievement based on merit, not based on diversity of racial group and gender. This is what feminism would look like if it was truly about equality, and it truly represented the dictionary definition of feminism. If it wasn't about victim culture and self-serving, but actually was about human rights and giving human rights to all people, not just your political allies. This is what it would look like. They'd be egalitarians. They would recognize the only true equality is the equality of opportunity, because no one and all people are not the same. They would be bringing us together instead of further dividing us. But that's not what third wave feminism is. That's not what current day feminism is. If you see yourself as being a feminist, look what feminists are focusing on now. Look what they are doing now. Look what they are saying is important to them. And then look at my list and tell me, what is more important? What is more equal? Who do you think really cares about human rights for all? Because it sure as hell is not feminists. And if you don't like that, and you're a feminist, maybe you should work to change feminism, so it's actually focusing on real issues. Because I promise you, that freedom you have to either be a victim or to be an adult is very expensive. And you shouldn't fucking waste it. Direwolf out.